Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. What's that FUD that you used to hear all the time back in 2017? What was it? Oh, right. Banks will never use XRP. Well, check out this headline. This is from Daily Hodl. Banking giant SBI reveals new plan to support XRP and extend coverage of Ripple network. And oh yes, indeed, we are talking about on-demand liquidity, formerly known as XRapid, a Bitcoin maximalist. Now how you gonna act? What up with that? So, this is exciting. This is like some of the most exciting news that you could possibly have today. Seriously, we're talking about actual banks using it, and it might be bigger. It's definitely bigger than is in the headline. It might be bigger than you expect. So, looking forward to running through this with you. I've also got some interesting tweets from the XRP community. And the last thing I'm going to cover in this video is a piece from Cointelegraph titled "Financial System Blind to Crypto's Deflationary Impact," says analyst. And it's unrelated to XRP. Well, not specifically related, so I'm saving it for the end. Before we get going here, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you would please delicately tap that like button. And if you're a fan of banks actually using XRP as a bridge currency the world over, go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel. It's the right thing to do. Now, shout out right out the gates here from two individuals. Usually whoever sends me over a link to a story first, I usually just whoever I see first, I'm going to credit that person. But this is a big enough story that I'd like to credit the two people that sent this one piece of information. First of all, a shout out to Stone Hodl XRP tagged me, along with fellow XRP YouTuber Kevin Cage, and also a shout out to XRP Crypto Wolf. This guy's all over it, sending me all sorts of awesome information every day, and very much appreciated. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Banking giant and Ripple partner SBI Holdings says it plans to use XRP to power remittances from Japan to Southeast Asia. In a new report on the company's performance and strategy, SBI says its remittance platform, SBI Remit, will utilize Ripple's XRP-powered XRapid, which is now known as on-demand liquidity. Now, SBI Remit, it is a wholly owned subsidiary of SBI. So I don't know to what degree you want to split hairs, but the bank owns it, right? And so as to the question of are banks using XRP? Okay, that's the first instance. There's going to be more in this video, though, so just sit tight here. SBI Remit utilizes MoneyGram's payments network. MoneyGram partnered with Ripple back in June and is utilizing on-demand liquidity to send dollars into Mexico using XRP as a bridge currency. The report also says that SBI Ripple Asia, another subsidiary of SBI Holdings, will ultimately cover nearly half of Ripple's global payments network. Right now, here's the money shot screen capture right here. So I am going to run through this. Look at this. So this slide, it was a slide in a presentation, or it was a presentation, wasn't it? It was either that or it's just a page from whatever it was initially published in. I forget now. I initially read this article earlier this afternoon. I mapped out all the videos I'm going to make for the day, and so I haven't actually read this in like 6 hours. So it's kind of a refresher for me. Anyway, but the headline here is for this slide or page, whatever. SBI Remit, one of Japan's largest remittance companies, promoting the further use of Ripple's DLT, distributed ledger technology. And then there's two little check marks. The first one states, since its inception, SBI Remit has been using the MoneyGram network to send money overseas to more than 200 countries and regions and to about 350,000 locations worldwide. And then the second check mark states, amount of remittances exceeded JPY 750 billion as of September 2019. Now check this out. You want to talk about banks using XRP? Please listen to what I'm about to say. For remittances from Japan to banks in Southeast Asia, in which the SBI Group invests, developing a system using XCurrent, in the future XRapid, again that's now known as on-demand liquidity, in collaboration with SBI Remit, SBI Ripple Asia, and several banks in Southeast Asia. So SBI Remit, the remittance wholly owned subsidiary wholly owned by SBI Holdings, but again, they're talking about transactions specifically going to banks in Southeast Asia. I'm sorry, what's that Bitcoin maximalist from era 2017? Banks will never use XRP. And you don't really hear that so much nowadays, do you? Because people know that it sounds stupid now. It sounds silly to have just a bunch of FUD. That's all it ever was back in 2017. And now, FUDsters are gonna do their fudding, behave in their fudding ways. But they can't really say this anymore because they're just going to look factually incorrect, and it's so blatantly obvious, too. Now, this is rather substantial here because, again, understand, as I keep saying, my investment thesis, the entire thing is that utility management will win the day, right? You've heard me say that a lot of times, unless you're brand new. And if you're brand new, you're going to hear me say that a lot of times, just so you know. But it's an important thing to hammer home here because... Look, corridors are being built out right now, and you can actually see this. The major giants, the major players, and certainly SBI is one of the major players, and this is what they're counting on to move money around the world seamlessly. It's called the Internet of Value, boys and girls, and it indeed is coming. And it's going to take a lot of XRP to make this a reality, and what's going to happen as this is developed? Well, you're going to need more liquidity pools, right? And as those liquidity pools develop, XRP needs to be held by somebody, market makers, and that affects supply and demand in a very positive fashion over time. None of that's financial advice, but that's the way this is all supposed to play out, and is playing out. All right, in early October, SBI launched MoneyTap, a mobile money transfer app that utilizes Ripple's technology. The app is available on both iOS and Android, and lets people send funds using phone numbers or QR codes. Although SBI says it's working to get dozens of Japanese banks on board, the app currently works with members of 2 domestic financial institutions, SBI Sumishin Net Bank and Suruga Bank. SBI Holdings is one of the largest banks involved in cryptocurrency. That's certainly true. The company recently launched crypto trading on its bank-owned crypto exchange VC Trade. SBI, a longtime Ripple partner, invested in the San Francisco startup back in 2016. And so they technically own a chunk of Ripple, right? That's my understanding. So let me go ahead and jump now to this slide. Okay, so there's more slides here. This is from XRP Research Center. Came across this in my news feed here. Breaking. SBI Group releases second quarter FY 2019 financial results. SBI companies engaged in remittance plan using ODL, which again uses XRP. SBI Ripple Asia to cover 50% of Ripple network. SBI VC to expand account acquisition. And finally, R3 settlement system that uses XRP. And so you can see this slide right here indeed. Ripple accelerates Ripple network expansion in international remittances utilizing its self-developed distributed ledger technology. So you can see, as I was citing earlier, SBI Group up here, right now, which, and then there's wholly owned subsidiary SBI Remit. So there you go right there. Coolest thing on the freaking planet. What do you know? And then I saw this earlier. By the way, okay, so I was tagged in this by XRP Twin. Thank you very much for tagging me, good sir. Talking about ODL. And it's funny, I'd actually come across this. This is from Alex Cobbs. He set up a 24-hour streaming of this, which I think is awesome. I just happened to have come across this before I was tagged in this, or at least before I saw that I was tagged in this. I woke up and I was around like 6 in the morning, and so I hopped on my phone, and then I'm just sitting there looking at this is awesome. This 24/7 stream on Alex Cobb's channel, and there are like 30 people just hanging out in there. Alex Cobb wasn't there, but he just has it set up so it just like perpetually runs, as far as I could tell, anyway. And it was cool. And they got a cool little animation back there too, with this little moon-looking thing in the water. Anyway, so I was tagged in that with some other XRP community members, and somebody named Bruce Wyatt responded and tweeted this out. Almost all the individuals who oppose crypto are old as dirt. This new phase of technology will rule. A new generation is rising up. You get with the program or be left in the dust. By the way, I'm a baby boomer, old as dirt. And it's interesting timing from my perspective that I saw this, because in one of my videos yesterday, I don't remember exactly why it came up, but I'm happy to be transparent, and I cited that my channel, because YouTube gives me the demographics of like who's watching my channel, right? And so I know that about 2/3 of the viewers of this channel are either my age, which is 36, or older. So 2/3 are in the older categories. And I made the point yesterday that when I joined crypto, I just kind of had this assumption, which apparently very faulty, that it was maybe a lot of people in like the early to mid 20s. Really not so much the case. And so I don't know that The people watching my channel, I don't know if that's representative of the XRP community. It might be, in terms of just, the age mix. I don't know, but it is the case with my channel. And so the idea that it's just a bunch of youngins running around, it's actually not. It's a bunch of people kind of not too old, not too young, and people older than me. That's who's really mostly into this. Again, at least on my channel. So take that for what it's worth. But yeah, of course, there are certainly plenty of people in their 20s as well. That's about a third of the people watching this channel. So I just came across this and I thought, wow, I just talked about this yesterday. So I thought I'd mention it again for those of you that didn't hear it. I just find it interesting and happy to share a little behind-the-scenes stuff with you. And this is from Ripple CTO, co-creator of the XRP ledger, David Schwartz, who tweets out, R, because that's what pirates say is the letter R for a prolonged period of time. R. And here we go. It's a picture of David Schwartz dressed up as a pirate with an eye patch that has the XRP logo, just like his little avatar here on Twitter, except for it's on the wrong guy. This must be an imposter, right? That was my first thought here. No. Actually, my first thought was cool costume, but what about depth perception? I was kind of wondering about that. But anyway, cool nonetheless. I just thought I'd share it with you. All right, last piece here. Financial system blind to crypto's deflationary impact, says analyst. Investment strategist William Peets has pointed to a widespread underestimation of the deflationary impact of cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and blockchain for global finance. Peets is currently CIO and portfolio manager for digital asset strategies at Passport Capital. In an October 30th interview with Real Vision Finance, he said that blockchain represents a generational change in technology with profound implications for the existing financial system, something that most have been too slow to recognize. Finance is ripe for disruption by crypto and blockchain, Pete said, noting that application of the technology will eat into the monopoly power of traditional financial services incumbents. And here's a quote now. Security issuance, tokenization of real assets, trading of those assets, custody, all those things can be potentially be done in a more efficient manner with distributed ledger technology. And that shrinks the margins of the likes of a State Street or Northern Trust, or these traditional banks and incumbents, again, which is all deflationary. And again, of course, crypto indeed is not going away. Some people are starting to get that. He again underscored that a large portion of the market remains blind to the potential impact of such far-reaching change, as well as how fast this change could happen. Post-2008, he argued that the potentially deflationary impact of blockchain could be crucial to mitigate some of the worst dysfunctions of a debt-riven system, stating that, quote, what's going on in the macro environment as it relates to indebtedness and the amount of debt that's trading out and negative interest rates, it really starts to make you think about the current monetary system and if that's sustainable. That's a fair statement in my mind. As previously reported, analysts consider that even ahead of gaining widespread global traction, the very existence of private decentralized cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin is already having a healthy impact on the global financial sector. Private digital currencies, a summer 2019 report argued, serve as competition for local investment and thus I can't talk today, sorry guys. I was doing so well up until I started reading this piece for some reason. Thus restrain monetary policy, thereby generating lower inflation. In a speech at the International Monetary Fund's general meeting earlier this month, former Bank of England Governor Mervyn King told attendees the world was sleepwalking into a financial crisis even worse than that of 2008. Well, as it pertains to the United States and trillions and tens of trillions of dollars of debt, yeah, that's not going to end well. I just don't know when it's going to all come to a head. Not for sure. We can all sit around and speculate. In terms of the adoption of cryptocurrencies, I got to tell you this, and maybe you were like this too. When you found out about cryptocurrencies, before you really researched it though, you heard about Bitcoin being used in place of traditional money, in place of fiat currencies like the United States dollar. And maybe you thought, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. So from your perspective, having not researched, you're like, so there's essentially, even if you don't word it like this to yourself, like, there's one use case. And maybe you don't really look into it or think about it any further. You think, to what degree could this actually be transformative? it's not until you actually start doing research and find out the differences between cryptocurrencies that you can start to parse them out on a proper level and learn that there's real utility to be had. And so I just think that a lot of people in the world, most don't even know about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, especially not XRP. And, given that's the case, well, let me say it this way. Even the ones that have heard of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, how many of them, even if they heard it, say they haven't invested, like how many of them are going to proactively look into it? And I think things like that, just the assumptions that are made prior to looking into that, it slows down adoption, but it is still coming, most certainly. Because I will tell you this, had I known 6 years ago everything that I know now, not even the way in which things would unfold in terms of adoption, but just from a technological perspective, what was possible, whether it was 6 or 7 years ago, if I had actually had that knowledge, I would have been in the space from the get-go, recognizing, yes, there are things that can be done thanks to this technology that humans will at that point have assigned a value to and will perpetually assign a value to. But I wasn't brought into it until I just really stumbled across an article, as I explained in my first ever YouTube video, and I went from there and researched on my own from that point. But it takes time, because it's not that people are too stupid to get it. It's just most people haven't even researched it, and it's going to roll out at the speed at which it rolls out. But crypto's here to stay. So that's my 2 cents. That's it for this video. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything, because if anything that I say or write, that would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!